Go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining our scoop today. I'm going to be talking about UC Moves, which I'm really excited to talk to you all more about and give you some more information on. So we will go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, we will be recording. And so this recording will be posted along on the website with all of the other scoops for you to refer back to this information as well. As a little wellness plug, I do realize this is a lunchtime hour call. So if you feel like you want to eat during this, please feel free to do so. Totally welcomed. Okay. All right, so UC Moves. So I have some slides here to go over about kind of the who, what, when, where, why about UC Moves and how we can get involved. So let me just start by talking about what UC Moves is. And I realized I totally am so excited about UC Moves, I didn't even introduce who I was. So my name is Kathleen Newell. I am the Wellness Program Manager that is part of Wellness and Community at UCSF here. We're part of Campus Life Services, and part of what we do is promote challenges and physical activity challenges for this one, like UC Moves, and this will be what we're highlighting for the month of May. And so now going into UC Moves, it is an annual UC-wide event promoting physical activity. And we've actually had to change UC Moves over the past couple of years. So I'm curious if anyone on the call recalls something called UC Walks. Thumbs up if you've heard of that, or hands raised. Great. Okay, I see a couple. Yeah. So it feels weird to say back in the day, but pre-COVID, we used to have an event called UC Walks, where we would have encouraged movement and walking through different campuses at UCSF, and you'd walk a route with colleagues during the lunchtime hour, and it would be something that we do across all the UC campuses. Obviously, when COVID happened, that wasn't really something that we could do or promote. And then we transitioned into a virtual event where we virtually encouraged folks to walk during a specific week. We actually changed UC Walks, changed the naming to UC Moves to be a bit more inclusive about just movement in general and physical abilities, and just really focusing on that there's more ways than walking to get your movement in. And so UC Walks or UC Moves is what used to be UC Walks. And now instead of a day or a week-long event, we're actually creating a whole month of May dedicated to movement. And it is UC-wide, so all of our fellow UC campuses are doing this as well. At the bottom, you'll notice that there's a tiny URL if you want to kind of jump directly to the landing page for UC Moves as I'm talking and browse through. You're more than welcome to do so. I'll be going over all of the content on the page here. So this year, I'm really excited about this. There's actually two ways to participate in UC Moves this year. This first one is a new pilot that we're trying for this year among all of the other UCs. And this is where you all get to represent Team UCSF in the UC-wide STEP Challenge. So there's actually an opportunity for us to battle the other UCs, if you will, for a battle of movement minutes to see who can get the most steps and which campus can basically get the most movement. This is going to be done through something called the Walker Tracker platform, which I'll talk about as we kind of go through the slides, but that's one opportunity for you to be involved in UC Moves. Number two is for you to move more so at your own pace and kind of choose your own adventure with UC Moves. I realize that not everyone may want to be part of that UC battle or want the pressure of, getting the amount of steps every single day to make sure we're top on the leaderboard. And so we're also encouraging people to participate in UC Moves as a way that works for you, if that's something that you want to do instead of doing the UC-wide STEP Challenge. So why do UC Moves? Really, we're doing UC Moves to encourage movement and physical activity within our UCSF community. There are a lot of benefits of physical activity that help not only our physical well-being, but our emotional well-being as well. These benefits include improving health, again, physically and mentally, reducing the risk of disease, decreasing symptoms of depression and anxiety, and various other ailments as well. So who who can participate in UC Moves, so all of you. So that this is actually a picture from our old UC Walks events back when it was in person, but we encourage everyone, staff, faculty, and learners to be able to participate in UC Moves, whether it's choice one through kind of the UC-wide challenge, or just yourself participating in movement throughout the month the way you would like to. All right, so when? So UC Moves technically spans the month of May. So UC Moves starts today, basically. Today is day one, which is why we're doing our scoop for it today. The UC-wide STEP challenge, again, this is something that is through our Walker Tracker app, which I'll show in a moment, or platform, not app. The registration for the UC-wide STEP challenge does open today, so May 2nd. The challenge on that actual platform itself runs from May 6th to 27th. And that's because of as some of you may know, looking at the May calendar, there is a Monday off for that 3-day weekend on the final day. And so that's the time that they'll be using to kind of tabulate all the scores among the UCs. So there are a little bit more specific dates for the UC-wide challenge there. And then for moving at your own pace, it's pretty much whenever you want, all of May. Every day, all of May is when you can do UC Moves. And for the month of May, we've actually put together in partnership with our fitness and recreation team some free events for you to take part in to get your movement minutes in. And so those are on the left-hand side here. You'll see one event a week that you can take part in that are virtual events as well. All of those events you can access through the tiny URL at the bottom right-hand corner too, so you can register and sign up for those events. So where, I mean, pretty much anywhere is where you can get your physical activity and movement minutes in. So that's really up to you. For people who are interested in participating in the UC-wide STEP challenge, that's going to be on something called Walker Tracker. That's the online platform. You'll be able to interact with Walker Tracker both on the web page itself, so on a website version, and they also have a mobile version as well. So you can input your information that way. I'm not sure if anyone on this call is familiar with Step It Up. Hopefully some of you are. So Step It Up is another challenge that our Department of Wellness and Community runs in usually the winter time. And this program models some similarities between Step It Up. So there is a site that you would go to for you to have the opportunity to link a tracking device to it, so you can have your information, if you do have a tracking device, kind of automatically uploaded into the system, or you can manually input your movement minutes into the system as well. There are also opportunities for you to be able to convert activities into movement minutes or steps. So you can put in like 30 minutes of yoga, if that's something that you did, and then it'll convert that to how many steps or movement minutes that is. For the second piece, the second option, moving at your own pace. So again, this is really choosing whatever you want to do throughout the month of May and making goals for yourself to achieve those movement minute milestones that you are working towards. We will send you weekly newsletters with tips and reminders, and also what event is coming up that week to help you prioritize your movement. All right, so how? So for the UC-wide STEP challenge, for those of you who are interested in participating in that piece of it, first you want to create an account on Walker Tracker. So the URL, relatively simple, but UC Moves at walkertracker.com. Let me actually drop that in the chat here. You can also scan the QR code for you to go ahead and create an account on the website. And I'm actually just going to shift my screen share a little bit so we can walk through that. So some of you may have scanned or may have gone to the URL in the chat, and that's great. I'm just going to share my screen real quick to show you what that takes you to. And so here is the sign up page for UC Moves on the Walker Tracker page. Hopefully you can see my cursor here, but for most people, you would go to the register now. I think this is actually all people, unless for whatever reason you've worked with Walker Tracker before. Everyone should be going here to register now, and then it'll take you to a registration page that is pretty straightforward here, and you can sign up with these fields. And so you'll enter in your information here, and then you should be able to then create an account. So I'm not going to do this part since I already do have an account. So I'll switch over to the view of what you'll see afterwards. And so the one thing that I do want to share is that you have the ability to join a team. So you can join Team UCSF, will be on that list among with all the other choices of all the other teams. And you also have the opportunity to create your own team within Team UCSF. So you can then create, for example, if my department, Wellness and Community, wanted to have their own little team within Teams UCSF, you can do that too. So it's an opportunity for you to get potentially your department involved or other colleagues involved as well. Having a team can connect to just accountability for getting your steps in. So if that's something that you do want to do, we encourage you to explore that functionality and create your own team too. That being said, if you don't want to create your own team, that's totally fine. You can just join the larger team of Team UCSF, where all of us will be working together to try to get as many steps or movement minutes as possible. And so I'm just going to switch the view to the one that I already am logged in right now. And so technically we're in the open registration period of UC Move. So that starts from the 2nd today, and it goes throughout the challenge. And the challenge we have is the California coastline. So you'll see that there are 30 teams within that challenge, and you'll be joining this. The purpose of the challenge is for us to see which UC campus can walk down the California coastline the quickest or the fastest. And what I do want to just show here is that when you log in, my view, I'll preface this with saying my view is the administrative view, so it'll look a little bit different on your end, but I just want to point out the section where I was talking more about teams. So you'll see here that you can find some teams that you can join, and these are the options of teams that are just created right now. You'll see that within some of the campuses, they have already created sub-teams, as I was explaining a little bit earlier. So it looks like UC Davis has created an air quality monitoring team for that particular department. Here at UC San Francisco, we have our department here, Agony of Defeat, which has been created. We also have HIV research coordinators. So you can, just some examples of sub-departments within the UCSF team or sub-teams within the UCSF team. Like I said, if you don't want to do a sub-team, that's totally fine too. You can click through all of the rest of the teams. I hope you're not joining any of these teams, but I guess technically the platform does not stop you from doing that. I hope you join the UCSF team here. So we have our team here. As you can see, we have currently 50 folks who have signed up for the UCSF team, and you can see all of the other campuses as well, UC Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, etc. I will say that there is a limited amount of spots on Walker Tracker for this pilot program that we're doing. So if you are interested in participating in this piece of it, I encourage you to go ahead and apply as soon as possible. We have about 850 slots for Walker Tracker. So go ahead. We would like everyone to sign up who is interested. Obviously, we have plenty of room left. We currently only have 50 on the team right now. So try to encourage as many people, including your teams and your colleagues, to participate as well. So I'm going to take us back to the PowerPoint here. We talked about the Walker Tracker Step Challenge. And then for moving at your own pace, the how for this is really up to you about how you want to move for the month of May. We encourage you to sign up for our weekly newsletter that's devoted just to UC Moves, which we will provide reminders, tips, and all the upcoming events that we have in regards to movement and movement minutes. So I want to talk before we wrap just about prizes here. So there is an opportunity, obviously an opportunity to get bragging rights about being the best UC and getting all our movement minutes in and walking down the coast of California. But there are also opportunities for a couple of chances to win a Fitbit Versa 2 smartwatch. So we wanted to have a prize that would connect to encouraging movement even way past May. So there are two opportunities for you to be able to win this Fitbit. So you can what we are calling Show Us Your Moves. So you can send us a photo of you partaking in your physical activity. You can be in the photo or you can not be in the photo. That's totally up to you. If you have pictures of the dumbbells you're using or just the hike that you went on, that's fine as well. So you can tag us on Instagram at UCSF Wellness and Community, or you can send us your photos through a Qualtrics survey. And you can access that send us your photo feature through the UC Moves tiny URL at the bottom there. So that's one way. Everyone who participates and sends a photo will be entered in a drawing to win a Fitbit. And then the second way will be anyone who submits a post-challenge survey will be entered in a drawing to win a Fitbit as well. And so obviously that second piece won't be available until the actual end of the challenge. And so we'll send out more information about that post-challenge survey afterwards and remind folks that that's an opportunity to win a prize as well. So at this point in the presentation, I want to open it up to any questions that this group has for me. And so I will feel free to unmute or raise your hand and unmute and say it out loud, or you can put in any questions into the chat. I realize sometimes questions come up afterwards, or you'll leave the Zoom and realize a couple more things needed some clarification. I wanted to leave our email on there as well, so you can reach out via email if anything comes up afterwards. So wellnessandcommunity@ucsf.edu. and we'll be able to answer your questions that way. All right, so I'll give folks a couple of seconds here to just maybe think of some questions or put some questions into the chat. It looks like we do have one question right now in regards to restrictions for number of people within a UCSF sub-team. So Christina, thank you for that question. As far as I know, it doesn't look like there is. And so Walker Tracker has let us know that there doesn't seem to be any team size restrictions. So if you run up into any issues with that, just let me know, because the language that they let us know is you can create as many folks on your particular department team as you'd like. Awesome, thank you. Good question. Any other questions about UC Moves, the Walker Tracker platform? We track our steps. Yes. So through this, you can track your steps and any physical activity or movement that you do. So in addition to steps, let's say you do a virtual workout, a virtual yoga class, or a virtual exercise class, that can count for movement minutes as well within the Walker Tracker app that you can input that in. And so those are the types of things that you can track to get your movement minutes in, and then it'll calculate your team score, or you'll contribute to your team score, and that'll show in the interface. And yes, thank you, Clarice. The app does connect to Fitbit and Apple Health, which is a added benefit. If you have either of those two devices, it can just sync through the Walker Tracker app. So hopefully that makes it easy for tracking and you don't have to manually input things all the time. That said, there is the ability to manually input if that's the preferred method. All right, any other last questions? And again, I know questions come up as you go. You might run into maybe some tech issues as you're signing up for things. So wellnessandcommunity@ucsf.edu is the way to go. Just shoot us an email if anything comes up. We can also connect with Walker Tracker to see what is happening on the back end. And I'll say too, we're excited to learn from anything that may come up too, as we're partnering with Walker Tracker for the first time and seeing how this goes. And hopefully if this is something that works out, we'd be able to continue having kind of this UC-wide competition for movement within UC Moves following years as well. So I will just, before we wrap here, highlight the next scoop that is coming up. So if anyone is interested in learning about convenient and secure bike parking, we have an upcoming scoop on May 17th. You can register for that by scanning the QR code here on the screen here and learn about personal safety tips and how to prevent bike theft on campus. And so with that said, that brings us to the end of our scoop. Thank you so much for spending some of your lunchtime here today. And I hope to see you all on the board on Walker Tracker for UC Moves. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here and have a good rest of your Monday and a good rest of your week.